U.S. officials have said this presidential election was the most secure in American history, rejecting President Donald Trump's repeated claims of fraud. Here's what the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency said in its statement. Right now, across the country, election officials are reviewing and double-checking the entire election process prior to finalising the result. Then, in clear, bold font, the statement goes on, there is no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised. It ends by saying, we can assure you we have the utmost confidence in the security and integrity of our elections. And you should too. When you have questions, turn to election officials as trusted voices. Well, that attempt to draw a line under theories of fraud and conspiracy comes as China has sent its congratulations to the man it now calls President-elect Joe Biden. Here's our North America correspondent, Peter Bowes.
The most secure election in American history. The verdict from senior US election officials. Refuting the president's claims that there was widespread voter fraud, a top committee overseen by the Department of Homeland Security has concluded there's no case to answer. Barack Obama, who campaigned alongside Joe Biden, his former deputy, has now added his voice to the growing criticism of Mr. Trump over his false claims of election fraud.
They appear to be motivated in part because the president doesn't like to lose and never admits loss. I'm more troubled by the fact that other Republican officials who clearly know better are going along with this, are humoring him in this fashion. It is one more step in delegitimizing not just the incoming Biden administration, but democracy generally. And that's a dangerous path.
Senior Democrats are urging the White House to acknowledge Joe Biden's win, saying the president-elect should be given access to the security briefings that Mr. Trump gets every day. The unease felt at Mr. Trump's continuing denial of the election result has prompted the Elders, a group of senior world figures founded by Nelson Mandela, to condemn the president's behaviour.
Thank you. The tragedy is that the United States has always been the supporter, the strong advocate for democracy and for adherence to the will of the people. When the votes are counted, you accept that. And so we do see it as being, serious for the United States in the short term, but also very worrying internationally, because it's obviously something that autocrats and, bad leaders are rejoicing in. They're just laughing and they're saying, who talks about democracy? Look at the United States.
Apart from playing golf last weekend and one official engagement to mark Veterans Day, Donald Trump has confined himself to the White House since the election, venting his anger through social media. Peter Bowes, BBC News, Los Angeles.
I'm joined now by CBS News correspondent Deborah Alfarone in Washington. Deborah, Mr. Trump isn't just tweeting, is he? There are legal challenges underway. Remind us where he's at with the numerous challenges.
Yeah, Philippa, there's about 6 battleground states where he has several, like more than a dozen or so, challenges to the election. And the thing is that we're looking at these, and really they're interesting. I'll tell you about one of them. There's a lawsuit in Pennsylvania that says the voting there was unconstitutional because it was a 2-tiered system. And the 2 tiers are walking in and casting your ballot and mailing it in. So a lot of these things are being thrown out. There are still some that are making their way through the legal system. Millions of dollars are being spent on these lawsuits. But at this point, you have to wonder the viability of these legal challenges. And we're hearing also that there were several people that advisors to the president were telling CBS News that really there's no viable legal path at this point to overturning the election, and that the president is coming around to that. Still, he hasn't conceded. We don't know if he will, and that is troubling to many people.
Perhaps it's not so much a legal strategy as a political strategy. It keeps grievance, anger, perhaps loyalty alive?
Well, it's interesting that you say that. There is a lot of loyalty regarding the president with the people who he surrounds himself with, and certainly Republicans here are still backing the president, many of them, not all of them. many of them think that Joe Biden, the president-elect, should be receiving those daily intelligence briefings. See, that's the thing, is that if he doesn't receive those briefings, what happens is he's going to be a little bit more behind when he does take office on January 20th. And you know, he's already been in the White House. He knows how the White House goes. He can do a lot of the stuff that he needs to do without that formal transition being signed off on. But we are in a global pandemic. There is a vaccine that needs to get out to lots of people. And if he's behind on understanding what's going on with that, and he doesn't have access to these different federal agencies, you know, that could be an issue. And certainly we don't want anything to get in the way of getting that out to the people who need it, especially when we're in this global pandemic and the numbers are just rising and rising.
So it sounds as if there are concerns that the machinery of government is somewhat under threat from what looks like quite a messy transition.
Well, and also, you know, like you heard in that earlier piece there, former President Barack Obama was saying, you know, this is an attack on democracy, really. There are many Republicans who are standing with the president and saying that, you know, we need to let these legal challenges continue their way. And certainly that's what the law is there for. Let's be clear. If you have something that you want to bring to it, absolutely. But also, we're looking at them and still not seeing that there is any widespread voter fraud. You know, there's lots of different things that the president is tweeting about. One about either between tens of thousands of votes and 2 million votes that could have been switched. And there's just no evidence of that at this point. And even so, let's say there was, and there's 2 million votes. We're still not looking like that could overturn the election. So, you know, you've got to wonder how long this is going to play out, and we're just going to have to wait and see.
We'll keep watching and waiting with you, Deborah. Thanks very much.